Do you really need to go to music school to start a career in composing music for film? Is it worth the financial investment, or can you get started on your own? I'm Tommy, a film and game composer. Today we're going to be looking at if music school is really worth the investment. It depends. There's various factors that kind of play a role in if it's going to be worth going to music school. Age, background in music, music theory, knowledge, production skills, all these play a factor. So I went to Berklee. I did their online program. I did it part-time while I was working full-time, taking care of a family, all the kind of normal stuff everybody does. Doing it part-time did take a long time. I did it basically 2 classes a semester. It took a long time to chip away at it. A 4-year degree ended up taking about 5 years. The way that I kind of looked at it was, while I'd played music all my life, there were some specific compositional aspects of composing for film and some production aspects when it came to working with the director, getting a package ready to deliver, how to deliver files, syncing to picture. Some of those I had an idea on how to do it, but I really wanted to make sure that I was going through and getting the full course curriculum. I almost kind of looked at it like a trade school, where I really wasn't going for the paper that I was going to get out of it. It was more for kind of learning the trade. I'd played music all my life. Originally, I went to the University of Memphis out of high school. I studied jazz performance, so my major was in jazz. At my university, they didn't really have a film scoring program. It was more of you were taking jazz or you were taking classical. So I got a lot of theory out of it, but when it comes to the practical aspects of composing for a film, for a game, for a TV series, I wasn't really going to get that from the school that I was at the time. I think if you're younger and you're pretty proficient in music theory or music production, you don't necessarily need to go to music school. There's a lot of classes that you can take through like Coursera, Berklee Online, where they offer like certificates, and you usually kind of get some of the same course material, but it ends up coming out a little bit cheaper. You can get an entire education off YouTube. People like Christian Henson, Junkie XL, all these composers are putting up basically mini master classes online on how to compose for film. Are there some gaps in that, and do you kind of have to make up your own curriculum? Yes, but if you really absorb and put these into practice, you're going to get a lot of what you're going to get at school. Now, with that being said, whether you go to school or you're going to the University of YouTube, getting real life scenarios under your belt is the best thing that you can do. One of the things that I wish I had done earlier when I started school was actually reaching out to independent and student filmmakers early on to try and get gigs. I think I had the mindset that until I'd made it through school, a couple of years at least, and gotten, a few classes under my belt, kind of had imposter syndrome. So I really didn't have any business, hitting up a indie filmmaker or a student filmmaker and asking, do you have any projects that maybe I could score to for free? But really, that's something that I think no matter what, at the end of the day, if you're independently learning or learning from a university or online course, that you need to try and reach out to local and student filmmakers as early as possible and get some of these things going. So what I ended up doing was I reached out to, I think I sent an email out to like 50, 100 universities. I don't know. It was a ridiculous amount. Just anybody that had a film department, I was basically reaching out and saying, hey, do you have any students that have projects that they might need custom music for free? But I did end up getting one from my local university here at the University of Memphis, and they were super excited to have somebody do custom scores for their undergrad students for free. Ended up setting a meeting where I went down and met with the director of the film department down at University of Memphis, and maybe about 10 undergrad students that were trying to get their final project before they graduated. It's really wild. All of them were saying that they're using the same license-free YouTube music for their films, and they all kind of use like a few things, but they didn't know any composers that would compose for their film for free. And that's just crazy, because all the forums online for film composers, everybody's looking for work, and it seems like every director online that you kind of run through on social media already has music covered. The other thing I would recommend is going to any of the local film festivals, if you have a free film classes, free film meetups, anywhere where filmmakers are going to be, you need to put yourself in that situation. It does you no good to go to composers conventions or go to forums where other composers are. They're not going to give you work. Directors are. Game developers are. So if you have a local game developer convention, go to that. You need to go to the places where these people are that would hire you. The other thing I would have done is just gotten my demo reel out there. I think, again, a lot of composers, when they start out, think that they have to have a visual video reel and not just maybe like an audio reel. I do have a visual video reel, and I've actually stopped using it as much because I would rather the director hear the music and put a scene in their mind themselves than necessarily see a film that maybe they don't like some aspect of the film and it puts a negative taste in their mouth about what the music is like. I want them focusing just on the music, so I've actually strayed away from that. So I would say if you can get, 7 to 10 tracks, like really great tracks in different genres, or if you're trying to target a specific niche, really dive into that niche, make some different ones for, let's say, like horror, comedy, just different genres, emotional music. Get all these different emotions and make a different, 5-song playlist on a reel. Use something like Reel Crafter. That's what I use. There are some aspects of music school, especially what I learned at Berklee, that are kind of hard to find. Like, that with YouTube, it's such fragmented information, or like these online courses, you're getting little chunks at a time. With something like, let's say, Berklee or Full Sail, when you're going through these programs, they're structured in a way that they are at least hitting all the kind of main points that you're going to need to go through when it comes to theory, production, music business, things like that you're going to need for the industry. If you're going to go to school to get the most out of it, keep in mind that the classes are structured just to kind of give you like a high-level overview of what you need to know. It's really up to you to show up to these live chats, contact the teacher, ask questions about things that you want to go further on. That way they can customize the program or the individual class to specifically you getting more out of it than just the course material. One example I can think of is there was a composition for video game class. I was pretty busy at the time with just my personal life and family, so I was kind of just skating by with just the bare minimum, and I made good grades, but I wish that I had really dove in, done my own independent research so that I could come back to these discussions and ask more. After I graduated, I found myself doing more work with music packs and things like that, that I might put online to sell to game developers. And the teacher that taught the curriculum was actually a fairly heavy hitter in the music game industry. So I could think of a million questions that I could ask him now that I kind of wish I had gone through and done while I was in the class. I think if you're, young enough and you're in a place where there are composers in your area, of course, if you're in like an LA or New York, great. You absolutely must take advantage of being in an area where you can go and apply for an internship. I think an internship is one of the best things that you can go do. Not all of us live in New York or LA. A lot of composers online that are doing this for a living, people that compose for, let's say, animated series, animated movies, or games. I've contacted, just hit up on like Instagram. I've never met one that's not open to responding to a DM or an email, answering questions, things like that. Building relationships, not just with game developers and filmmakers, that's crucial, but also with fellow composers. Comment on another composer's work. A lot of times you're not going to get work from them. You might actually, they may need a co-composer, but where you might not get work from them, you might gain insight, connections, things like that, and it puts you on the radar of other people that's in their circle. Transitioning from student to professional can be kind of tough. One other thing that is great about going to music school is that you do kind of start to develop a style. I had a lot of great instructors that were like, hey, you're really great at this. I would maybe kind of push in this area. You need to be able to write for everything, but I think it's good to know what your strengths are so that you can really double down on that and start to build an identity for yourself as a composer. And when you're getting started, offer to do as much free stuff as possible. Are you structured, or do you need somebody to kind of help structure that? If you feel like that you don't want to build your own self-taught curriculum, then you probably need music school. The biggest thing I would say taking away from this is that no matter what path you take, you have to get started with some real life projects for free to get started in the initial part of it. A couple of areas I would probably dive into and some actionables you can take no matter what path you're choosing is, student filmmakers. Contact your local university, see if there's any undergrad students or student filmmakers that you can get on a project with, or just get a meeting with. See if you can just make a connection with even one of them. It's rare that composers nowadays just make their money from one area. So I would start looking at maybe what are the different areas that you're going to make money from. I would have also started working on production music for production libraries early. You learn a lot about what you need to tweak and writing to brief by submitting to these production companies. And that's something that I would have started day one of Berklee, no matter how good I was, to try and see if I could get any feedback or if I could at least get contacts made with some of these production companies. It's a numbers game, so the more you can put out into the field, the more money you're going to make on the back end with royalties. Game music packs, you can create these packs, learn how to loop audio for video games, put them on stores like Unity, Unreal, get these out there and get them circulating. This is something that if you can load up the market with enough of these, you'll keep getting passive income coming back in. You're going to put in a lot of work to learn the skill to load them into Unity and Unreal in the initial part, but it will pay off in the long run. More social media. It's a must for anybody doing any kind of networking. Get good at coming up with just constant material that you can put out in little snippets, and you kind of learn what works and what you have time for. But it takes time to kind of develop that as well. You don't want to have to learn all this after you finish school and then you're scrambling to catch up to all of this at one time. So whether you choose the academic route or forge your own path, remember, success in film scoring or scoring for games comes from determination, building a skill set, and networking. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more insights, and let me know in the comments what your thoughts on music school is.